Welcome to Brass Tacks. We're starting off with some breaking news. An Air India flight from Trichy to Sharjah. It has faced a hydraulic issue. The landing gear is not closing. We're given to understand that there is a mid-air glitch that has happened for this Air India flight that was taking off at 5:40 p.m. from Trichy to Sharjah. The pilot has declared emergency. There are 140 odd passengers on board, and we're given to understand that it's circling in the air for the last hour or so. Air India flight from Trichy to Sharjah, 141 passengers on board. The bottom of the landing gear, the bottom wheel of the plane, did not close in as was expected, as a result of which the plane is now circling in the sky. Pilots are trying to land once again at the Trichy airport. If the landing gear does not close, then they will attempt what is called a belly landing, which means the flight lands on its belly, which could also potentially mean that it could lead to an accident. More than 20 ambulances, fire engines are all there at the Trichy airport. A large number of ambulances from the Trichy district headquarters have been called in as well to try and get to the bottom of this. This is a big breaking story that is happening right now. It's a flight, Air India, from Trichy to Sharjah that took off with 140 passengers on board. The landing gear did not close, as a result of which now this flight is having to make an emergency landing once again in Trichy. It's a Boeing 737 aircraft. The aircraft is circling around the skies around Trichy to try and reduce the fuel, so that as and when the belly landing happens, the impact is less because the fuel has been burnt out to a great degree. So therefore, the impact on belly landing will be much less compared to if it were a full tank. We're also waiting more details from Air India. Yash Goel has more on this on the phone line for us. Also, Purnima Murli joining us on the phone line from Trichy. Purnima, what is the latest that you have from the air traffic control authorities in Trichy?
Well, in fact, the district administration says that in another 10 to 15 minutes, the landing will take place. That's the bit of breaking information that we are getting. The collector of Trichy says that within the next 10 to 15 minutes, the landing will take place. Remember, the Air India flight from Trichy to Sharjah had encountered a landing gear issue, and the aircraft was diverted back to Trichy. It's been hovering around the Trichy airport. 20 ambulances, fire engines, 18 fire engines are all on standby. And Trichy Airport preparations are underway for any kind of emergency landing. One, of course, is the belly landing. That is one such scenario. But there are 2-3 options that they are exploring. And in the next 10 to 15 minutes, the collector has assured that the landing will take place. 141 passengers are on board the flight, and prayers are on for their safety landing.
Tell me, what exactly went wrong? The landing gear, when you say that the landing gear got stuck or the wheels have not retracted back in, what exactly is the problem, and why did they decide for the flight to come back to Trichy? I believe it's been doing loops around the Trichy airspace in order to reduce the fuel weight, so that even when that belly landing happens, the impact on ground is not as much. Walk us through that.
The airport director, the Trichy airport director, Gopal Krishnan, confirmed that the technical problem is because of the hydraulic failure, and they detected the technical glitch around 45 minutes after the takeoff, which is why they decided to come back to Trichy for landing, which is why they decided that the landing should take place in and around Trichy, and they are looking at possible scenarios. The flight took off at around 5:40 p.m., but around 6:40 p.m. is when the entire chaos began, and that's when, as per the airport director, they say that it's the hydraulic failure, and the rounding in the airspace is primarily to decrease the fuel before landing at Trichy airport. This is the only scenario that they are exploring at the moment, and they say that in the next 10 to 15 minutes, the landing will take place. This is the only option with less damage, is what the airport director has confirmed.
Okay, Purnima, stay on with us. Yash Goel is also joining us. So, just to bring our viewers up to speed, so at 5:40 in the evening, Air India flight from Trichy to Sharjah took off from the Trichy airport. It went up mid-air and realized that the landing gear is not folding back. So, they decided to loop back in, come back to Trichy and try and land. The only problem is if the landing gear is not folding back in, which means that when it lands, the wheels will get knocked off because the force with which it lands down, and if the landing gear does not fold back in, which means that the smooth landing will not happen, the landing gear will get knocked off once it hits or makes contact, makes impact, as a result of which what they're trying to do now is looping around. We believe that multiple loops have happened around Trichy airspace so as to reduce the fuel level and the weight that is there on the aircraft. Once that becomes light, the captain has taken a call that it will be a less risky or less dangerous landing, even if the landing gear is fixed, even if the landing gear is not moving as per required norms. Let me go across to Yash Goel. Yash, have you heard anything from Air India? Has this happened before, where the landing gear has been faulty technically, and therefore the pilot is trying to sort of circle around the Trichy airspace, as a result of which the fuel load on the aircraft will be less and it will be a hard landing of sorts?
Well, absolutely, Zaka. These sorts of technical glitches have been reported in past, and this one is also not something which the pilots who are trained to actually fly these flights are not trained for. In fact, in multiple scenarios, these pilots are given training to execute a landing when something like this happened. Like you were talking about, the kind of strategy which the pilots are taking right now is very much so that only that they have to actually reduce the payload from the fuel payload to the bare minimum to make that landing. Because right now, what we are understanding as of now is that the hydraulic pressure machinery of this very landing gear is actually found to be technically faulty, which means that the kind of bumpers and jerks which the landing gear needs to actually suppress those very jerks, that system is probably not working. So that is why the payload is actually decreased to the bare minimum. And talking about Air India, we haven't heard anything as of now from Air India. What we are understanding is that the entire process which is being followed is as per the protocol which are being laid by both the DGCA and also by the ATC, and these protocols will be followed before the landing, the final landing and the final touchdown is done. And in fact, as per Purnima also, and in fact what we are hearing from the ground is that now the exhausting level of the fuels which the pilots were trying to achieve is nearly, they are nearly about to meet, and in fact in the next 10 to 12 minutes we could actually expect that very landing could take place. But like you mentioned, there is a very hard possibility that it will be a rough landing. So that is why all those precautionary measures have also been put in place, including the fire brigades and in fact also the ambulances. But if we go by the experts in this very case, the pilots, the commercial pilots, are well trained to actually execute these sorts of landings. But we have to keep our fingers crossed, because this is a real situation we are talking about, not a simulator situation. But the kind of experience these pilots have, we are hoping that this will be a smooth one. And in fact, in the next 10 to 15 minutes, we will get to know exactly how this landing takes place.
Yash, if you can walk us through, apparently the DGCA, which is the regulatory authority for all safety of aircraft, some days back had issued an advisory to all airlines on a potential rudder system issue in the Boeing 737, and I believe this is a Boeing 737 aircraft as well. This advisory was issued on the 7th of October. It was prompted by concerns raised by the US National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, regarding a faulty component that could potentially jam the rudder control system. Do we know if that is what has led to the landing gear in this instance not folding back and the faulty landing gear? What exactly is this warning, or at least advisory, that was issued by Boeing and by DGCA on October 7th?
Zaka, the exact reason of this very technical glitch will be only ascertained once the landing is done, and then the entire scrutiny is done exactly why this very piece of aircraft actually faced this sort of technical glitch. But like you mentioned, that yes, DGCA has talked about how there were certain issues regarding this very aircraft model, which is the Boeing Boeing 737. In fact, like you mentioned, the issue regarding the jammed rudder control system was the main reason behind this very thing. And in fact, potentially it could be this very reason, but that is a matter of investigation, exactly why this technical glitch happened. And in fact, like you mentioned, the US National Transportation Safety Board had actually also flagged off this very concern on the highest level when it comes to the international aviation societies. And in fact, following that, a lot of countries had actually issued advisories for that. In fact, have actually flagged for a complete servicing of these planes, and in fact, a proper checks and balances regarding this very Boeing 737 plane. In fact, in India currently, Air India Express, Akasa Airlines, and also SpiceJets operate these sorts of planes. And in fact, but once this landing happens, and in fact, once the regulators and in fact the authorities get into the bottom of this, then only we will get to know the exact reason as to why this very Boeing 737 faced this very glitch.
Okay, Yash, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Yash Goel joining us with the very latest details. So the aircraft is circling around the Trichy airspace. It's trying to reduce the fuel load so that whenever the belly landing happens, and that's the only way it can land because the landing gear is now faulty, it is stuck. Therefore, whenever the belly landing happens, the lesser the fuel load, the better it is because it sort of cushions down the landing. But if the fuel load is high, then it becomes a problem for the aircraft. We'll try and touch base with Yash Goel as well as Purnima Murli as and when this flight makes landing in Trichy. For now, let's move on to the other big story that we're tracking. The Congress government in Karnataka has decided to withdraw a number of rioting cases against members of the AIMIM who indulged in rioting a few years ago. Now the BJP, one particular case of course is related to what happened in Hubballi. The BJP in the state has accused the state government of yet another instance of appeasement. The chief minister has said this is very much in the prerogative of the state government. The question is whether this is a case of appeasement or is it a case of a genuine grievance where the state government, well within its powers, has decided to withdraw these cases. But first, the story of what exactly happened in the withdrawal of these cases, rioting cases that happened in Hubballi in 2022.
ಬಿಜೆಪಿಯವರಿಗೆ ಸುಳ್ಳು ವಿಚಾರಗಳ ಮೇಲೆನೇ ಹೋರಾಟ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು.
What is the reasoning behind this?
We will all discuss later.
Police department and the Ministry of Law of the state government, they have opposed the withdrawing of the case. In spite of that, they have withdrawn it. That means, in a way, they are supporting Islamic fundamental activities.
That was selfish interest of politics. That is why in case of, like I said, the Karnataka government is only practicing politics of appeasement.
Okay, so does the appeasement charge stick on the Congress government in Karnataka? Pradeep Bhandari is national spokesperson of the BJP. Sanket Yanagi, advocate in support of the Congress party. Adil Hassan is spokesperson of the MIM. And R.K. Upadhyay, senior journalist, joining us. Pradeep Bhandari, let me start with you. The government's contention is that this was a case that happened in 2022. 12 policemen were injured in the stone pelting. The cops arrested over 150 people. 12 cases were filed. AIMIM leader Muhammad Arif was accused of leading the mob. In October 2023, the Karnataka Deputy Chief Minister had asked the police to withdraw the case, primarily against this AIMIM leader. What is your contention? What is your objection to the withdrawal of these cases?
Well, Zaka, good evening to the viewers of CNN News 18, and I will just lay basic facts in front of you. Fact number one, Zaka, in this current withdrawal of case by the Karnataka government, the police has objected to it. The police categorically has said that A, the cases should not be withdrawn, point number one. Point number two, the Law Commission also has objected to it. The Law Commission has given a dissenting thing that the cases should not be withdrawn. Point number three, what is the case? The case is exactly of certain accused rioters who were responsible for attacking a police station, and there were two policemen, Mahesh and another policeman, who on record have said that there are cases of attempt to murder and cases of lynching. They could have been lynched. So today the Karnataka government, despite the police objecting to the withdrawal of cases, have stood with the rioters and not stood with the police forces. Now I draw it to appeasement charge because of the following reasons. A, what happened 24 hours before? 24 hours before, Shama Mohammed of the national spokesman of the Congress party tweeted similarly that it's the only Muslim community which supports the Congress party. In 2018, Rahul Gandhi had gone to an interaction with the respective intellectuals from the Muslim community and concluded that the Congress party is a Muslim party. Now, if I take the argument of the Congress party of withdrawal of cases forward, let me show a difference in the policy of the Congress party. On January 2nd, 2024, when it came to the cases of car sevaks, the Congress party quoted and said, that is Siddaramaiah said in the court, that criminal always remains a criminal until acquitted by the court. This is to do with the 1992 cases on car sevaks. Now, the Congress party does not apply the same principle because it comes to appeasing its vote bank. And this is just not a limited phenomena. If you look at other parts, what have happened, there have been handlers who have been caught in Karnataka with fake ID cards. So the Congress party is not acting against accused when it comes to their favorite community. Remember what happened in the Rameshwar blast case? The Congress party initially called it as a low intensity blast. Later on, the NI had to step in and a terror case was registered. So in order to appease its vote bank, what happened with PFI? The Congress party did not register it as a terror organization. In fact, the NI has concluded that 9 crore funding PFI has got based out of Karnataka, and Karnataka needs to check on it. So this is our charge. Whether it comes to anything to do with the Muslim community, the Congress party only factors in appeasement. We removed stone pelting in Kashmir. Here the Congress party is banning stone pelters in Karnataka.
Ask Sanket Yanagi of the Congress party. The cases against the AIMIM leader, his name is Muhammad Arif. That has been, at least a recommendation has been made for that case to be withdrawn. There are others also who are accused of rioting, damaging public property, causing injury to a dozen policemen, and all of this on the basis of an objectionable social media post. But this is not the only one. This is not the only case. Recently, there is the lens on the influx of illegal immigrants, as many as 22 of whom were living in Bengaluru. They are Pakistani nationals who had fake ID cards, fake Aadhaar cards, and other government-issued IDs who were staying in Bengaluru. Then we had this case of a bow and arrow lamppost removed after the SDPI nudge. This was again in the Hubballi area. Congress SDPI alliance and the Bantwal civic polls. Also, PFI members, cases against them were withdrawn in 2015. Now, the question is, again, Sanket Yanagi, why is the Congress party government in Karnataka under Mr. Siddaramaiah seemingly appeasing one section, one community of society?
First of all, to the viewers of CNN and also to Mr. Jaka, let me clarify that I am no longer the spokesperson of the Congress. I have resigned from the party.
Okay.
And my stand is my individual stand, not the stand of anyone else. And I am totally independent from the ideology of any party as such. But insofar as the incident in hand is concerned, where the government has taken some decisions to withdraw complaint in respect of certain offences which are of serious nature is concerned, the power of the government to withdraw complaints has already been considered by the Supreme Court in the case of R.P. Kapoor versus State of Punjab in 1960, and also in Union of India versus V.K. Jain in the year 1990, where the court says that there are certain guidelines to be followed before withdrawing of the complaints. The viewers could come to know as to whether these guidelines have been followed by the government or not. Once I reiterate all those guidelines. First of all, the court says there must be some prevailing public interest. Then only the complaint could be withdrawn. If the withdrawal of the complaint is against the public interest or public policy, it is not a valid withdrawal of the complaint, and it can be challenged before the court of law, either under Article 226 before the High Court or before the Supreme Court under Article 32 of the Constitution. It may not be a valid withdrawal of or a decision to withdraw the complaint in case it is against the public interest. Second thing the Supreme Court says is the due process. The government must follow the due process in making a decision, including considering the evidence on record and the victim's rights. Now it is not forthcoming as to whether the government has considered these major aspects. The materials which are already
Okay,
available.
Mr. Yanagi, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm really sorry about this. But I believe that we're getting live pictures of the flight, the Trichy-Sharjah flight, which had a faulty problem with its landing gear. I'm given to understand that now it's done multiple rounds of the airspace around Tiruchirappalli. It's now making a landing in the Trichy airport. Now, like I said, the issue is that the landing gear got stuck, as a result of which they had to circle around the Trichy airport multiple times. I've been given to understand almost 24 times, so as to reduce the fuel load, so that when the hard landing happens, the fuel load is light and it doesn't have as much of an impact. We are given to understand that the landing is being made. This was a flight, Trichy to Sharjah, took off at 5:40 p.m. Earlier today. The pilot discovered that there was a problem with the landing gear. The landing gear was not closing back in, as a result of which he decided to do multiple circles around the Trichy airport airspace, in fact. Purnima has more details on this. Purnima, so we're given to understand that the flight has made an emergency landing in Trichy. Do we know any other details about it?
Well, as you can see the visuals on the screen, the flight has landed. All passengers are safe. However, the situation is being monitored closely at the Trichy airport. Ambulances, fire engines, police officials are all on standby. But at the moment, seeing the visuals, the flight has landed and all passengers on board are safe. However, the situation is being monitored closely as we speak.
If Payal is there, if Yash is there, I don't know if he's there. What exactly happens, Yash, when the landing gear is faulty and they can't make a normal sort of landing, when there is a hard landing or a belly up landing that is scheduled for? What exactly happens? All right, this is the picture of the flight once it made landing. Like I said, there was some fault with the landing gear. Once the pilot discovered that, he redirected the flight back from where it was scheduled to go to. It was scheduled to go to Sharjah. He flew right back in and then circled around the Trichy airspace for a couple of hours. We believe about 24 sorties were made around the Trichy airspace so as to lighten the fuel load, after which the landing happened. What you're seeing right now are the first visuals of the flight landing in Trichy after the fuel weight was reduced and a hard landing was made. All right, we're given to understand that the landing was fine and that the landing gear worked all right. So it landed normally. Airport is on alert and is ready. DGCA is monitoring. Yash has more details. Yash.
Well, absolutely, Zakat. The thing we were talking about, that this is a tricky situation, but this is not something which has not been dealt by these pilots before, or something these pilots are not trained for. So as per now, what we are understanding, a safe landing has been done. No injuries have been made, and in fact, DGCA is also monitoring the situation quite closely. And in fact, landing gear has opened, and in fact, the hydraulics which we were talking about might have worked in the favor while the pilot was actually trying to land this very flight. Like I also mentioned earlier, that in such cases, the main aim of the pilot or the authorities is to decrease the payload at the bare minimum so that landing could happen very smoothly, so that there is minimum weight. And in fact, that is why they don't take any such rash decisions before making such landings. So when the flight was actually circling around the Trichy airport, all these possible scenarios were actually mapped by the authorities, and in fact then only looking at every possible situation and the kind of landing which will be possible, this landing has been made. The landing has been done safely, and all the passengers who were on board are safe, and including the crew is also absolutely fine.
Yash, so what exactly was the problem? We were given to understand that the landing gear, the wheels were not going back in after the flight took off, and the pilot made that conscientious call that because the landing gear was not going back, he had to circle back to the Trichy airspace, and because he was concerned that the landing gear was faulty, that it was not going back in, he had to do multiple rounds of the Trichy airspace so as to reduce the fuel load. Just walk us through what exactly was the problem, what was the judgment call that the pilot made, and now, of course, the fact that it landed quite safely.
So Anand, this flight, this Air India Express 5, which was actually bound to Sharjah, took off at around 5:45 p.m. from the Trichy airport. And as per the given information, after around 45 minutes, this very issue was actually encountered by the pilot. And in fact, then it was actually flagged to the relevant authorities at the Trichy airport. The reason why the flight was actually, the flight circled back was that in any such cases, when there is a fault of any nature, in fact, it's not just about the landing gear, but of any nature, these calls are made to actually get the flight to the base from where it actually had flown. Because what happens is when the flight is actually probably the flight was just had taken off around 45 minutes back, so it was very near to the Trichy airport, and then this decision was made to actually get this flight back to the Trichy airport so that this entire mapping and planning of the landing could be done in time. And in fact, also what authorities also does is they do not rule out any other possibility of any other technical glitch. So that is why they try to keep the flight near to the airport, so that in case if a need arises that landing needs to be made, so there is a available space for a safe landing, or perhaps a landing space for that very aircraft. But as of now,
Okay.
Zaka, the landing has been done successfully, and the final checks will be done. And in fact, there will be a high-level investigation in this very matter, because this is something which is very serious. And Boeing 737 is not new to such technical problems. So the authorities, when you talk about either it's DGCA or the Civil Aviation Authorities, they need to take appropriate actions when it comes to these sorts of cases.
All right, Yash, we'll leave it at that. So the good news is that the flight has safely landed in Trichy. There were multiple ambulances as well as fire trucks that were there at the Trichy airport in anticipation that there would be a hard landing. There would be a landing on the belly of this aircraft. Fortunately, the landing gear functioned when it landed, and we can report to you that the flight has landed safely. We'll go back to the story that we're tracking, the debate that we're tracking, which is the withdrawal of cases on MIM leaders by the Congress government in Karnataka. Let's try and see if we can go back to our guest. Adil Hassan of the MIM is also joining us. R.K. Upadhyay, senior journalist, is also joining us. Adil Hassan, you know, the fact is that this was a case that was against Muhammad Arif, who is a leader of your MIM party. The Deputy Chief Minister, we believe, wanted the cases dropped. The law and police departments resisted the dropping of these charges, but we're given to understand that against Muhammad Arif as well as 150 others, the Karnataka government has decided, the Home Department has decided to drop these charges. What would you say specifically, Mr. Adil Hassan, to the accusations from the BJP and others that this is minority appeasement?
सर, बीजेपी पर क्या बोले, एक कहावत है हिंदी में कि जिनके दांत मैले होते हैं वो मंजन नहीं बेचा करते। बीजेपी से पूछिए कि योगी आदित्यनाथ चीफ मिनिस्टर होकर वाहिद पहला प्रदेश का चीफ मिनिस्टर है जिसने अपना चीफ केस हटाया, केशव प्रसाद मौर्य का हटाया, स्वामी चित्यानंद का जिसने एक्स होम मिनिस्टर का हटाया, जो राम रहीम को 6 बार पेरोल दे वो बीजेपी का एमएलए बन गया, वो जेलर। बीजेपी किस मुंह से बात करती है? मैं आपको बताता हूँ। वी सोमन्ना एमपी है, यूनियन मिनिस्टर है बीजेपी का। एम सुधाकर बीजेपी एमएलए, सीटी रवि बीजेपी का एमएलए, एमएलसी सुकुमार शेट्टी बीजेपी एमएलए, संजय पटेल एमएलए, केजे बोरप्पा एमएलए, अनिल बारका एमएलए, श्रीमती मंगला एमएलए, सब तो बीजेपी के एमएलए हैं सर। ये तो बीजेपी तो हर जगह केस विड्रॉ कराती है अपने लोगों का। आप बैरिस्टर असदुद्दीन ओवैसी साहब पर गोली चली, उसका केस अपोज नहीं किया, बेल बीजेपी के योगी आदित्यनाथ सरकार ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट में, जिस पर पॉइंट ब्लैंक रेस से मेरे लीडर पे गोली चली सर, उस पर बीजेपी ने अपोज नहीं किया सर। बीजेपी से पूछिए ना।
तो आप क्या कहना चाह रहे हैं कि द केसेस दैट आर बीइंग विथड्रॉन बाय बीजेपी अगेंस्ट एमआईएम लीडर्स बीइंग टारगेटेड is some kind of understanding between MIM and BJP? यही कहना चाह रहे हैं?
No,
अगर आपके नेता के ऊपर गोली चलाया गया है और आप कह रहे हैं कि केस विड्रॉ हो गया, तो फिर कुछ तो अंडरस्टैंडिंग है ना आप दोनों के बीच में?
अरे सर, अंडरस्टैंडिंग नहीं हुआ, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में बेल अपोज नहीं हुआ जिसने गोली चलाया, ये कहना है। और प्रधानमंत्री जो बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ की बात करते हैं, अमित शाह होम मिनिस्टर थे, बिल्किस बानो के रेपिस्ट को छोड़ा है सर। क्या बीजेपी की बात करेगा?
नहीं, वो तो अलग बात है। आपके नेताओं के खिलाफ जो केस है उसके बारे में बताइए ना, वो तो अलग है।
ये तो सर, ये तो 138 केस, 138 लोग हैं, उसमें एक आरिफ साहब भी हैं। बीजेपी के पूरे यूनियन मिनिस्टर का केस कर्नाटका सरकार ने वापस लिया है।
Okay, Mr. Upadhyay is also joining us. Mr. Upadhyay, 7 orders when the BJP government was in power till 2022. To 2023 actually, 7 orders were issued by the BJP government to drop prosecution in as many as 385 cases. 182 cases of hate speech, cow vigilantism were withdrawn. Communal violence accused were also let off when the BJP was in power till 2023. The move benefited as many as 2,000 accused, including some of whom happened to be MLAs and MPs of the BJP. So the Congress's contention is they were doing it. It was kosher when the BJP was in power till 2023 May. And when they were doing it, if it was kosher, then if the Congress government withdraws, then what's the big deal? Why all this brouhaha?
Zaka, just an aside, I've been watching this Air India thing. Today, I traveled from Bangalore to Pune and we had a safe landing, though it was 1 hour late. I mean, looking at the crisis that, Air India faced today, it was heartwarming that finally it ended in a happy note. I mean, just to answer your question, I feel that, what has happened today is that, DK Shivkumar taking the initiative for withdrawing this case. I'm just wondering whether he's getting ready to take over as Chief Minister from Siddaramaiah. I mean, an important decision like this should be coming from the Chief Minister. And it's surprising that Shivkumar makes the move and, Siddaramaiah accepts it. Of course, there have been cases, but this is one of the most serious cases of rioting on the police station, and this is exactly similar to what happened in 22, in the DJ Halli and KG Halli case, where 3 people were killed and more than 50 people were badly injured. There was also a mob attacking a police station with, all kinds of weapons, and the police had to run away from the police station. So that's exactly the case which, even NIA had taken up and charge sheet had been filed and they were about to be prosecuted, and that's when the government changed. And once the government changes, you see what happens. So this is what I think these, people, writers are getting away with. And unless, law and order is able to take care of these, whether it's the, BJP people or the Congress people, I think that's not the issue. The issue is, the law and order has to be maintained. And the government's duty is to see that the law and order is carried out. I mean, you cannot decide these things on the basis of religion or caste. And this has to be an administration.
Okay. So let me ask,
the failure of administration here.
Let me ask Pradeep Bhandari, when the BJP government was in power, as many as 7 orders to drop the prosecution in 385 cases were issued by the Bombay government. 180 cases of hate speech, cow vigilantism were withdrawn. Communal violence accused were also let off when the BJP government was in power. Over 2,000 accused, some of them BJP MLAs and MPs, were also accused in these cases, were also let off. This was between February of 2020 and February of 2023. So in the 3 years that the BJP government was in power in the state, you did the exact same thing, Pradeep Bhandari.
Absolutely not, Zaka, and I'll revert to that. Just allow me to revert to what fake news was spread by the AIMM spokesperson. This is March 2nd, 2023. Yogi Adityanath ji's official statement while presenting the budget, and I quote Yogi Adityanath ji. He said, yesterday a Samajwadi Party leader had given a statement that the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister had withdrawn a case against them. In the last 6 years, the Chief Minister or the Deputy Chief Minister have not withdrawn any such case. In fact, it was Akhilesh Yadav who had signed to withdraw a case against himself. This is on record. So the AIMM spokesperson has lied officially and has been fact-checked. Now let me come to basic thing where what is the difference. In none of the cases which we have withdrawn was an individual a stone pelter. In none of the cases where we have withdrawn, the police had objected to it. In none of the cases where we had withdrawn, the Home Department had objected to it. In none of the cases where we had withdrawn, the police officially had given a statement that they were about to be lynched. In this particular case, the police has officially revolted and dissented, has said that these cases should not be withdrawn. This is where this is a unique case, and this is the case of purely appeasement. In all of these cases, the mere opposition was political. I am not talking about we opposition. discussing. It's the police itself, Zaka, which is saying that the Congress party should not withdraw the case because these individuals were responsible for attempt to murder certain policemen.
Adil Hassan, the police department itself is objecting to the withdrawal of these cases.
सर, बिल्किस बानो के रेपिस्ट को छोड़ने के लिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला है कि गलत किया है. सुप्रीम कोर्ट से बड़ा पुलिस डिपार्टमेंट नहीं है. ये देखिए योगी आदित्यनाथ का केस. योगी आदित्यनाथ गवर्नमेंट विड्रॉल द केस. इंडिया टुडे ने स्टोरी की है. क्या ये झूठ बोलते हैं, फेक न्यूज का चढ़ावा दिखाते हैं? देखिए इंडिया टुडे ने स्टोरी किया है. देखिए ये
officially Zaka, this is
I challenge him on the national TV.
Pradeep, yeah.
Okay, I challenge.
Country knows it is.
Yeah.
Country knows the
Pradeep की बात भी सुन लीजिए ना एक बार. हाँ, Pradeep.
प्रसाद मौर्य का केस कौन वापस किया?
Pradeep, what is your defense?
You have a Zaka, he's quoting which is there. I am quoting the official statement of the Chief Minister on the floor of the House. You have a very good research team. Please check whether the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Yogi Adityanath, on March 2nd, 2023, did he not make the statement on the floor of the House that yesterday a Samajwadi Party leader had given a statement that the Chief Minister and Deputy Chief Minister had withdrawn a case against them. In the last 6 years, the Chief Minister or the Deputy Chief Minister have not withdrawn any such case.
All right.
This is the Chief Minister's official statement. He's lying. He's not lying.
Let's see how this plays out. Fact is that this has become commonly polarized, the withdrawal of these cases. The question that's being asked is who stands to benefit by the withdrawal of these cases, not against Congress party leaders, but against MIM leaders, and why is the Congress government in Karnataka going out of its way to withdraw these cases against the MIM leaders?